Hey there, Coach Devin here. I want to talk really quickly about numbers and data when it comes to COVID. Before we get going, please click the like and subscribe down below, and please share this with your friends. I am not a conspiracy theory guy. You're not going to hear conspiracy theories from me. This is not a conspiracy theory video. I can promise you that. And the reason for that is I just don't believe in that stuff. My parents, they raised me a little better than that. They really did, I promise. But what I don't like is my industry, which is the fitness industry, being vilified and demonized as if somehow we are spreading COVID in every direction. And unfortunately, the data doesn't say that. And there's lots of data out there for that now because we're a little bit into it. I mean, early on, nobody knew what was going on. Now, there's some data. So I'm going to throw up a quick picture. This is Toronto, Canada, has just come out of a lockdown recently, and they have some issues, and they may be going back into a lockdown. And some of the data they had for potential exposures and cases, they broke down where this comes from. And in the Toronto area, I'll throw this up right now. There's the pie chart. As you can see, schools, number one, and daycares. Not surprisingly, no one is going to say schools are, totally safe. I mean, who would ever say that, right? It doesn't make any sense. Everybody knows schools are not going to be super safe. This is a lot of people in a condensed area. It is what it is. And I'm not saying schools should be closed. Not saying it, promise. And the reason I'm not saying schools should be closed is because we have to go to work. I have kids. I get it. I understand. I'm not living in a bubble, and I'm not crazy. However, schools are open, and as you can see, they have a large piece of that pie. Gyms are all the way down at 3%. Gyms are 3% of the exposures and cases of COVID come from gyms. Now, people like to say, oh, but my gosh, gyms are horribly dirty, and they're so dangerous, and oh my God, everybody's going to catch it. No, it's actually not a thing. That's actually untrue. And you know what? The data from Toronto is not real far off data from other places. Gyms are not the number one or the number two. They're way down. There's 97% of the numbers for COVID are coming from other places besides the gym. Just is. It's a bummer. It doesn't fit with the narrative that we're being told and that a lot of people are pitching out there, but it doesn't change the facts. 3%. Now, in other places in Ontario, gyms are actually down at 2%. Now, you'll notice on that earlier sheet I threw up there, grocery stores were actually at 4%, so they're worse than gyms. But guess what? Grocery stores in all the areas that this was checked in the Ontario area, grocery stores ranked higher than gyms in every single case. In one spot, even at 14% of the exposures and cases came from grocery stores, while gyms were at 2%. Now, in that one, the schools were a little lower, but the schools were closed, so that's the reason for that. But schools, always high. Long-term care facilities, always high. Both of those make perfect sense, and I understand it. I get it. The real problem for me, and what I'm very confused about, is why gyms are so demonized. Because I see online all the time, politicians, the media, average people, typing away, or maybe, like that's my sound effect for typing. Those are thumbs. All right. The average people, everybody's out there saying gyms are so unfair, safe. They're terribly unsafe. We cannot possibly, how would we have people going to gyms? What are we thinking? That's not borne out by the facts, though. No, I get it. There's a lot of hysteria. People like drama. Online nowadays, everybody wants some drama. I go on, I look at the numbers every day in Nova Scotia and then in Canada, because you know what, I'm a sucker for punishment. And then I look at those ridiculous, frankly, comments, and people are ranting. Somebody's like, close it all down, lock us in our homes. Somebody else is saying, COVID isn't real, how dare you say that? You know, there's crazy people everywhere. There just are. And as normal people, like you and I are, we have to wade through the swamp and the stupidity and figure out what the hell is real and what the heck is not. And politicians, though, they need to step up and do a better job of that. Because where I'm from, in Nova Scotia, gyms are closed. We're not allowed to be open. In fact, we went through a little issue yesterday where the government didn't want us going in the gyms to shoot virtual videos by ourselves. I was not supposed to be going into my gym to shoot a live Facebook video workout for my clients, and I'm the only person in 8,800 square feet. That was a real thing. Now today, Dr. Strang came out and said, oh, that was a miscommunication and a misunderstanding. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a letter from the government to a gym association that I am part of stating you can't do that. That's not a misunderstanding, Strang. That is, you guys decided to do it, and then guess what? There was a big public outcry because people said, wait a second, this makes absolutely no sense. It's asinine. And then you back down. And you know what? That is the power of social media. It just is. Social media is pretty powerful. And sometimes I made a YouTube video about it, a lot of views on that YouTube video, and I was not asking anything untoward. I'm just curious why it is that restaurants were allowed to be open with staff making food, and I couldn't be by myself in a gym. Explain it. So obviously it was wrong. It was ridiculous. I personally don't know if it came from higher ups or some stupid bureaucrat, but someone got confused, said you can't do this. Then the government walked it back and said, okay, you can. But again, it still doesn't explain my question, which is why are gyms considered so dangerous? Because the data we have now from Ontario, and when you take data from an entire province and an area, the highest in any city in Ontario that gyms was 5%. That's the absolute highest for exposures and transmission, 5%. So we're talking 5% at a maximum of the entire problem for COVID spread or COVID exposure are gyms. Schools are more. Grocery stores are more. Lots of other places are more. Schools, grocery stores, long-term care facilities. Schools are still open. Grocery stores were all on. Listen, you go to the grocery store, give your head a shake if you think the grocery store is safe. I mean, come on now. How many people touched that stuff before you took it and brought it home? How many do you think touched it? It's a lot. It's got to be processed, then it's got to be packed, then it's put on a truck, then it's taken off a truck, then it's put on a shelf, then it's moved around on the shelf, and then like 60 people pick it up and go, I don't want that one. We've all done it. Don't tell me you're not doing it. Everybody does it. And you know what? I understand that. I get it. But here's the thing. If grocery stores are somewhere between 4 and 14% of the problem, and grocery stores are wide open, good to go, and everybody's like, it's cool, it's grocery stores, all fine. Why is gyms at somewhere between 2 and 5% of the problem such an issue? Why is it so easy for us all to beat up it? And we've bought into a false narrative because, frankly, the data, science, and this is what it is, guys, it's science, doesn't back up the arguments and the shutdowns and in my area, shutting down an entire organization and, an entire fitness group and industry. We're shutting down the entire industry, all for what? Because there's somewhere between 2 and 5% of the problem. Well, I would argue with you then there's a lot of other problems out there. There's many other problems. And one of the frustrating things for us is the government, I'm part of a gym association group. And we went to the government and said, okay, we understand where we're coming from. We really want to reopen. What do the numbers have to get to for us to reopen? And they couldn't answer that question. We said, do we have to be at 0? Couldn't answer that question either. Why? Because there has been no actual leadership on deciding what the numbers have to be. There's none. Numbers in Nova Scotia continue to go down and go down and go down. And we have no end in sight because, we're closed at least for another week or so. And frankly, I'm looking at it saying, well, why would they ever open us over Christmas? They got us on the ropes now. Why not do it? Can you keep us closed? Is there anything in it for them? They can't tell us what the number has to get to because they don't want to be nailed down to say, hey, we're at 30 cases in Nova Scotia, so at 30 cases, you guys are allowed to open. They won't tell us that. Now, I don't understand that because my question when that is why? Why can't you tell me that? I'm an adult. I feel like you know what, I'm smart enough to understand that. If you give me a goal to shoot for, and that's what I shoot for, then that's what I shoot for. That's okay. But if you can't tell me, the government can't tell me where I'm supposed to be, while you close me and you've demonized me and made my business and my industry the devil's spawn. It's terrible. How dare anybody go in a gym? It's so unsafe. And the numbers don't back it up. My question is, what the hell are we doing here, guys? Let's look at some science. People talk about Robert Strang, Dr. Strang, who is the head of doctors, I guess, in Nova Scotia. He's the head medical expertise. Jesus. He's the head medical person in this thing. He's the point guy. He should know. He should know what the data is. He should be like, what the hell is going on here? This doesn't make sense. Lots of other things are worse than gyms, but he continues to hammer down on gyms. It is unfortunate, but it's not true. That's the thing. The data doesn't agree with it. The science doesn't agree with it. And as a scientific person, Dr. Strang, science doesn't say it. Full moon doesn't make me go blind either. And I don't think he believes that. So come on. This is a fallacy. It's fake. It's actually fake news. It's really fake news. Actual, real fake news. That's what it is. So you know what? That's where I'm frustrated. That's why I'm annoyed. Because when I look at it, I'm like, I'm looking at scientific data and I'm not the problem. My business and my industry is not the problem. There are many other industries that are worse. So why the heck am I being discriminated against? That's my question. Please like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. This is a message I think that needs to get out. People should not just be blindly following what some people are saying, which is that gyms are dangerous. It's not the case. Have yourself an amazing day, everybody. Don't fight the awesome.